Hello and welcome. You're watching the continuous coverage here on WION of the analyses after Pakistan's elections yesterday. The election results are still coming in as we speak. PTI emerging as the single largest party, Imran Khan's party getting 114 seats as we speak. It is 10 a.m. India time or 9:30 in Pakistan where the counting is taking place. The second position goes to PMLN of the Sharif brothers at 64 seats, the PPP on 43. All right, joining me for the discussion is Ambassador Dileep Sinha. Ambassador Sinha, thank you so much for joining us on the discussion. Appreciate it. Your thoughts this Thursday morning as Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, sets to take over the reins of power?
Well, it is an expected but a remarkable victory for...
Why expected?
Well, most analysts and opinion polls gave a neck-and-neck contest between PML and PTI. But people expected that because of the backing of, number one, the army itself, which was widely reported from Pakistan, and the other that some of the fundamentalist parties were supporting the PTI, Imran Khan. Therefore, there was a widespread expectation that he would win. The only question was, would he get clear majority or would he be the largest single party? Now, there was a little bit of an expectation for PMLN when Nawaz Sharif came back and decided to take the plunge of going to jail. That the sympathy factor and the factor that he had shown courage would get him some seats. Now, that seems to have played out in Punjab. If you look at the provincial results, PMLN has done well in Punjab. So that has helped the party in Punjab, but at the national level, the PMLN has not been able to carry its performance to the other provinces. Now, one of the important things that you notice in this result is that the only party that has emerged as a national party is Imran Khan's party. It has a presence in all the states, whereas PPP is now reduced to Sindh, PMLN reduced to Punjab. And Imran Khan has been able to not only get the Pashtun vote in KP, I keep calling it NWFP for certain. In Punjab, he's been able to get a lot of votes from across the population. And in Sindh, it appears that he has eaten into the MQM votes. That means the Muhajir votes have split across and gone across to Imran Khan.
But how do you explain the PTI's performance, Ambassador Sinha, in North Punjab, which is seen as a stronghold of the Sharif brothers, also in Karachi in Sindh? So does that, to your mind, indicate some kind of backroom scripting, so to speak? I don't know, I don't have a better word to describe what has happened.
Well, there is a lot of scripting that takes place, but one has to also recognize that there is a degree of democracy.
In other words, was the election pitch skewed in favor of PTI in the run-up to the elections?
It was certainly so, but if you look at his appeal factor, there was a certain appeal that he was able to send across to the youth in Pakistan and to a number of other discontent elements. Certainly with the Pashtun population, he's been able to score very well. Because of the support of the fundamentalist parties, he has the backing of the Taliban, he gets a lot of other conservative votes. North Punjab has traditionally gone with the official candidates. Whoever rules, they have gone with them. So from that point of view, since Imran Khan is the beloved of the establishment today, the military establishment as it's called there, he has been able to carry the population with him. In these parts.
Ambassador, do hold your thought. I want to talk to our viewers about some reactions coming in this moment. China's Deputy Chief of Mission in Pakistan has hailed the polls as successful. Li Jianzhao tweeted, and I quote, "My pleasure witnessing this historic moment, election 2018 in Pakistan. Caretaker government and Election Commission of Pakistan deserve a salute for conducting successful election today. Whatever the results are, whoever wins election, Pakistan won," unquote. This is the reaction coming in from the Chinese diplomat, the #2 diplomat posted in Pakistan as we speak. On that note, I want to introduce my second guest joining this moment. Einar Tangen joins me live. Einar, thank you so much for joining us on WION. We are analyzing the election results in Pakistan, and this is a good moment for you to jump in the discussion. We are discussing about the Imran Khan, the politician, the probable Prime Minister's position on a number of key issues, namely the China-Pakistan economic corridor to begin with. Now, Imran Khan has expressed reservations on this project, but China seems to be confident about the status of the project going forward. Your thoughts on Pakistan-China ties under Imran Khan, the new Prime Minister?
Well, quite frankly, I think he was looked at with some trepidation by the U.S. side and probably a little bit more favored by the Chinese side. They are not, obviously, this is a different political system. This is an elected system. China is not going to interfere in that, but obviously they've made most of their deals with the militarily backed government, and this seems to be the person that the military wanted. So I don't think that other than the usual, we'll look everything over, make sure there was no graft or corruption, that anything will dramatically change.
Einar, do you expect or anticipate a change in Pakistan's attitude or position or disposition towards countries in the neighborhood, namely China, India, the US, Afghanistan? Or you think because the Pakistani army is the constant in all of this, one should not expect too much of a drastic change? It's more of the same going forward.
Well, I see this as a kind of Pashtun versus the other. Khan is a native of Pashtun. He seems to enjoy confidence there, although there was some difficulties in the past, as he was seen as too liberal and not observant enough. But he seems to have gotten past that, and he has taken up consistent things that he wants to right the wrongs that were done to the Pashtun minorities in Pakistan. I don't know how that carries through, but I don't think that it's going to change anything dramatically with the military forces or interests that are there. In terms of China, as I said, I don't think that they see this as anything unusual. The U.S. problems, India, it's going to be very difficult to see how he's going to reconcile his brand of populism, especially now that he has this kind of, he's won this economic booby prize. I mean, Pakistan is not doing very well. They're going to need either a bailout from the IMF or from China, or they have to kind of free float their currency, which they're reluctant to do because of inflationary concerns, or they're going to have to become very, very conservative in terms of their fiscal policies. Now, he's promised free education and all sorts of social services. Given the current situation economically of the country, it's going to be very hard to reconcile all these things. So I think he's a populist, perhaps very pragmatic, given that he's been able to thread the needle between all of these different interests. But there is one overall concern, and that is at the BRICS conference. I mean, there was a move. China accepted this idea that terrorists being harbored but in areas of Pakistan would be added as threats, listed threats, and that action could be taken against them. And this does not bode well for Pakistan in those general terms.
Right. Joining me live from Karachi at this moment is Omar Qureshi, the senior journalist and media consultant to PPP's Asif Ali Zardari and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Omar, thank you so much for joining me on WION this morning. Now, the morning after the elections yesterday in Pakistan, Omar, PTI emerging as the single largest party, and Prime Minister Imran Khan looks highly probable going forward. I'm told we have lost that link with Omar in Karachi. We'll try to fix that going forward. But if I can go to my guest in the studio, Ambassador Sinha. Ambassador Sinha, many people are interpreting this verdict as meaning against politics of dynasty, against politics of corruption, namely the Sharif brothers, allegations swirling around them. At the same time, this is a man, the Pathan from Mianwali, who has supported the blasphemy law, who has the moniker Taliban Khan. So, on balance, with the benefit of hindsight, knowing and served in Pakistan, what's in it for India going forward?
Well, in Pakistan, there is a separation of powers that's been now accepted by all political parties. And this separation of powers is not only among the various organs of government that we are familiar with, but also the army being a major player,
right,
and the fundamentalist parties being the other set of major players. Now, religious issues cannot be touched. The religious parties hold sway over it. Foreign policy, India policy, Afghanistan policy is held by the army. And all political parties agree on the broad contours of this policy. China, Afghanistan, India are the key parties. The US has a little more controversial, but let's keep that aside. The three major foreign policy agenda items of Pakistan, these three.
Sure.
So I don't think we should expect anything different from Imran Khan on the India policy. In fact, some of his statements have been contradictory, but some of them have been very personal against our Prime Minister and extremely derogatory. Now, these are, of course, campaign speeches. People change after elections, so we'll have to see what that happens, but then one cannot expect any significant change.
All right. Don't expect any significant change, says Ambassador Sinha in the studio here with me. I'm told Omar is back with us from Karachi. Omar Qureshi, thank you so much for joining me on WION this morning. Appreciate it. What does Imran Khan's Naya Pakistan look to you from Karachi this morning?
Well, in terms of, I think you maybe want me to answer in terms of policies which have to do with India and the overall, the region as well. Right. I think there's not going to be much change actually. As the person who was speaking before me just said as well, he said a lot of hawkish things actually about ties with India, but that had to do with the campaign speeches and all, and I think he'll have to be more pragmatic. It's actually, the full result hasn't even come out. We're still getting results, and I was up till like 7 a.m. waiting for the results to come, and in fact we're actually all waiting. But yeah, the trend is there that we'll probably end up seeing a coalition government. We'll have to see that who will be his coalition partners, and obviously when you're in a coalition, then you have to have compromises as well.
Omar, as the election results and the leads stack up this moment, PTI leading on 114 seats, PMLN 64 and PPP 43. Now the PTI doing very well in Karachi, in Sindh, where you are as we speak, also doing very well in North Punjab. How do you explain this performance of PTI in these two parts?
Well, he ran on an anti-corruption platform. And as you know, the previous government was tainted with corruption, and the former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif was in jail, and so was his daughter. So I think that resonated with voters. And then there were lots of allegations of rigging by many political parties, including allegations that surfaced right after the elections as well, like last night, if you follow in the Pakistani media. So I think there's a combination of all of those, and his other main point was that voters have given other parties a chance, and it was time that he be given a chance. So I think all of that worked in his party's favor, and it's come out, leading in 110 plus seats so far out of 272.
All right, joining me live from New Delhi is Lieutenant General Syed Atta Hasnain, Strategic Affairs Analyst and author. General Hasnain, thank you so much for joining us on this discussion. I was asking Ambassador Dalip Sinha in the studio here with me about what it might mean for India in the immediate term. Do you see Imran Khan and Prime Minister Narendra Modi getting along at all?
Interesting question. Thank you for that. And it's a very direct question. But I do believe at this time India is itself on the last stages of about to enter into the election phase,
right.
2019.
Right.
For anything to really change between India and Pakistan in this run-up to the Indian elections in 2019, in the next 8 or 9 months, is extremely unlikely. But notwithstanding that, there will be opportunities that will present, where you may find Prime Minister Modi and the Prime Minister designate Imran Khan meeting on the sidelines of certain events around the world, and I'm sure there will be bonhomie. I mean, in a sense, not a political bonhomie, but a personal bonhomie will all be there. Imran Khan is not unfamiliar with Indian territory. He knows India well. He knows that he had tremendous support from the sporting community of India at one time. They all supported his fantastic bowling prowess and cricketing capability. Today, he is a bit of a changed personality, there's no doubt about it. But that is probably keeping his interests of his country in mind to his perception. How he plays that out, right at the beginning, whether he wants to take India on board, whether he wants to engage with Prime Minister Modi, only time will tell. But I think, based on the kind of agenda that he has come with, the kind of rhetoric which has been prevalent through most of this electioneering for this election, I have my doubts that right from the outset we are going to find anything positive in terms of any kind of indicators of some positive aspects for India-Pakistan relations.
All right, General Hasnain seems to indicate that India-Pakistan ties can be expected to remain in a holding pattern going forward immediately. But General Hasnain, it was Imran Khan who said 24 hours ago, yesterday, while the polling was on, that Prime Minister Modi liked Nawaz Sharif, the Indian media liked Nawaz Sharif, the government liked Nawaz Sharif. They would have liked him to remain in power one way or another. He seems to indicate that that is going to be his disposition towards India going forward. So, for a politician such as Narendra Modi, who has invested time, energy, effort in establishing a personal rapport with leaders around the world, including Nawaz Sharif, do you think there's a real possibility of them having a working relationship going forward? I mean, what might it mean for the India-Pakistan relationship bilaterally going forward?
From knowing anything about our own Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi, he is a realist. And if you go by what happened in 2014, he was the first one to put out the hand of friendship to Pakistan by inviting Mr. Nawaz Sharif. And thereafter, he never failed Pakistan in the first 2 to 3 years of his tenure as the Prime Minister. He extended a tremendous amount of warmth, went out of the box completely, trying to visit Pakistan, and on Christmas Day tried to attend some of the festivities of the granddaughter's wedding, Nawaz Sharif's granddaughter's wedding, and things like that. But at this time, I think the state of Indo-Pakistan relations is in a bit of a limbo, may I use an awkward word. And for anyone to expect anything transformational at this time, I think would be asking for a little too much. Notwithstanding that, I don't put it past Mr. Narendra Modi. He is a pragmatic leader. He understands the groundswell in India. He understands the groundswell in Pakistan very well. And you may very well find him doing something transformational, which may just lead to him actually extending an olive leaf to Imran Khan. It'll be a good thing for India-Pakistan relations, no doubt. But from the Pakistan side, I think they have to come at least halfway. India and its leaders have gone more than halfway to demonstrate. And the practical demonstration of that is in the field of terrorism, which is what causes the maximum concern in India. Any indicators that Pakistan actually wishes to change its policy in terms of sponsoring proxy war, sponsoring terror in Kashmir, is going to be an extremely welcome step as far as India is concerned, and they will probably find Mr. Modi moving more than halfway forward.
Right. General Hasnain, do hold your thoughts. I want to take that point across to Ambassador Sinha in the studio with me. Ambassador Sinha, General Hasnain seems to indicate that Imran Khan should ideally meet Prime Minister Modi halfway. Do you think Imran Khan would be his own man? Or you think the Pakistani army he'll have to constantly look over his shoulder every time he deals with India?
Well, as I said, in the separation of powers in Pakistan, India policy is handled by the army.
Sure.
Now, that doesn't mean that Imran Khan is not in agreement with the army on the India policy. As far as the indications come from his campaign speeches, he's totally in agreement with that. But my fear is that Imran Khan's primary preoccupation immediately after elections will be the economy.
Okay.
Because Pakistan has now been grey listed by the FATF, and in the next 15 months they have to show action against the terror groups.
Right.
Now that is going to be the real challenge for Imran Khan, because the fundamentalist parties are the parties supporting him. So he has to take action against them. Then he has to rein them in, because there have been some action against some acts of terror against the Chinese companies that have been operating in Pakistan on the CPEC. So that is a very delicate relationship for Pakistan to handle China. China abstained in the vote on FATF on grey listing Pakistan. So that is a very important relationship for him to manage. The US relationship is also very significant for him because President Trump is going after Pakistan, so he has to handle that, because it's quite possible that Pakistan may have to go to the IMF for a bailout. Now, if that happens, then Imran Khan will have to handle the US relationship as well. Now, that is the plate full for him. Now, in the midst of that, and as General Hassan pointed out, you have the fact that you have an Indian election coming up very soon. We have state elections coming up, major state elections in 3 months' time, and then in less than a year, national elections coming up. So on account of both these factors, preoccupations, domestic preoccupations of Imran Khan and domestic preoccupations here, I don't think we should expect any breakthrough in our relations.
All right. On that note, as Imran Khan feels he's inching closer towards the seat of power, the PTI chief yet again blamed India and took a dig at his political rival Nawaz Sharif. And Malsina, you wanted to come in at this point.
No, there was an interesting clip that you pulled out from 26 years ago when Imran Khan was a great national hero. And to an extent, he's replaying that now, especially with the youth. And of course, it's a different generation that has seen a different kind of Imran Khan. But in those days, Imran Khan was a national hero in Pakistan and had many admirers in India as well. I mean, the number of Indian, especially women, young women who would swoon over Imran Khan was legion. So it will be a bit of a change for our youth to try and understand, our younger people, what image Imran Khan enjoyed earlier in India and the image that he has today, where, as I said, he makes very personal remarks and rather abrasive comments on individuals in India and the country itself.
Right. General Sinha, General Hasnain, rather, if I can come back to you one more time. Now, we've been discussing about the politics of the man, but what about the man himself? Now, he's spoken with a forked tongue on many issues, including on the issue of terrorism, cross-border terrorism, the Taliban, the blasphemy law in Pakistan. From India's perspective, what might be the pitfalls of an Imran Khan prime ministership going forward? Would you want to raise some red flags or draw some red lines for the policymakers in New Delhi going forward?
Absolutely. And that's the question on everyone's lips in Delhi today. But I think it's a little too early.
Okay.
But it's our job as analysts to try and make it easier for people to foresee the future. I think you've got to put this election behind. This election has been an awkward one, and I, for one, and seeing your channel almost every day and with very many analysts on your channel, it's very, very clear that Imran Khan had to be brought into power. He's been brought into power by the Pakistan army. Okay, let's put that behind. Now, what next? Is Imran going to be his own man? Well, time will tell. We saw what happened with Benazir Bhutto. We saw what happened with Nawaz Sharif. The Pakistan army realized that both of them, as time went on, tried to develop a degree of flexibility, independence, and therefore a degree of awkwardness as far as control was concerned. And this is why the experiment with Imran Khan is underway, the third experiment, so to say. How quickly will Imran break out of the shackles of the Pakistan army's controls? No one can say at the moment. But obviously, 120 seats almost, 114 to 120 seats, whatever he will win, with the assistance of the Pakistan army, with the fact that in Punjab, where there was a 10% differential the other day with the PMLN, you find now of almost 100% differential in terms of the results which have come about. Obviously, he's going to be beholden to the Pakistan army. But the issue which we've got to keep in mind is, how would Imran Khan want to be remembered? I think Imran Khan has made it very clear that he would want to be remembered as an even greater nationalist than the image he created as one of the world's greatest fast bowlers. And for that, I think as time goes along, he will want to be his own man. And he may just realize that the controls on him which the Pakistan army is imposing is only going to lead to more negative situations. He's looking at the economy, and in no way is the economy going to improve without an overall review at the foreign relationship. And that starts with the relationship with India. So coming back to India once again, I think at some time or the other, Imran Khan will have to realize that an improvement of relationship with India is absolutely mandatory. He may be supported to an extent by the fact, and I'm only assuming at this time, General Bajwa is considered as a part of the Bajwa doctrine to be actually having some other agenda than the agenda which has been played out in this election so far. If that happens, you may find the best things happening with the apparent agenda of peace with India, stable borders with India, trade and economy, cooperation, a people-to-people relationship. But that's going to take time if it happens. It's going to take time. As far as the red lines are concerned, it is clear. As far as India is concerned, terrorism will remain the main concern. And nothing's going to change on that. Kashmir will remain the main concern. The only heartening thing coming out of this election is that so far not a single seat has been won by a party such as Hafiz Saeed's Milli Muslim League or the Allahu Akbar Tehreek. We are not certain what the 54 odd independent parties or others on the table is showing. What these parties really are, only details will subsequently tell us. But if there are any elements from the radical side among these parties, then that's not a very good indication either. And if they are going to support Imran Khan into bringing about governance, then that's going to be a difficult one as far as the relationship with India is concerned. So all in all, I'll say at this stage, difficult to say, but I think Imran in the long term may just turn out to be his own man. And if that happens, perhaps we may be looking at something different in terms of a relationship with India.
All right, point well taken, General Hasnain. Ambassador, you wanted to come in?
I wanted to come in on this point that, we're trying to guess how Imran Khan may change once he comes into office, once he becomes Prime Minister. Now, one of the indicators to this could be which parties does he choose as his ally. Now, he is about 20 seats short of majority. He can either turn to the MMA, which can support him, or he can turn to a bunch of the smaller independent parties and then try and cobble together the remaining 20 seats.
Right.
Or he can turn to the PPP, which there's been some speculation in Pakistan that the two could get together. The PPP is under a young leader. And here is a man who represents the youth, as he says. So that could be one indicator. The other is the fragmentation of the vote in Balochistan. In Balochistan, no national party has got seats. Unlike in Sindh and KP.
That's right.
So handling Balochistan, which is the troubled state of and constitutes half of Pakistan in terms of area, will be another challenge for Imran Khan. His party, I think, has got he's got 3 seats in Balochistan.
That's right.
But the bulk of the seats have gone to the BNP and the BAP, the Balochistan Awami Party and the Balochistan National Party. And the National Party is the party that stands for greater autonomy, as does the other party, but then less so. So that will be the other challenge that Imran Khan will have to address.
General Hasnain, you spoke about General Qamar Javed Bajwa and his men. So let's take a moment to talk about General Bajwa and his men. Pakistan's most powerful political party wears a uniform, commands more than 500,000 loyal, disciplined followers, and has at its disposal arms and equipment of every description, including nuclear weapons. We are talking about the Pakistani army that many say is the de facto head of the state, and there is no denying that apart from guarding the country's frontiers, it plays a decisive role in the elections too. All right, the counting is on as we speak. No poll, no survey shows Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on top, and yet he is a very important man this election. The next government may well depend on him. In the neck-and-neck race between Imran Khan's Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf and Sharif's Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, Bilawal may end up the kingmaker. For him, it's a different battle. He's hoping to regain some of the lost charm of his party and further his mother's legacy. The PPP was once Pakistan's biggest national party. Today, it is a diminished force restricted largely to the traditional stronghold of the Sindh province. Now, this is Bilawal Bhutto's electoral debut and largely a fight for survival and prestige. A hung assembly will be the best case scenario for Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. It will allow him to flex the little political muscle he salvages this time. Most surveys and polls have not named a clear winner yet, giving rise to three possible scenarios. Number one, PTI leads the coalition with support from nationalist parties and independents. That does not give much hope for Bilawal other than playing some role in the opposition. Number two, Imran Khan joins hands with Bilawal's PPP to lead the coalition with support from provincial and ethnic parties and independents. This way, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari could share in the power pie. And number three, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz and Pakistan People's Party could come together to form a government. As unlikely as that may sound right now, nothing should be ruled out in politics. Both the Bhutto Zardaris and the Sharifs have been calling themselves victims of persecution. That could be the plank for an alliance. All right, Ambassador, we were discussing about the possibility of a Modi-Khan meeting sometime going forward. Now, where could that possibly take place? Also, we've seen Prime Minister Modi invest a great deal of time, energy in establishing a personal rapport with world leaders, including Nawaz Sharif. And he plunged headlong into that with Nawaz Sharif traveling to Lahore for wishing on his birthday. Do you think he might tend to hold himself back this time with Khan at the helm of affairs in Pakistan?
Well, as one says that once burnt is twice shy. The Prime Minister Modi did stake a lot in his in the great move that he did to fly down to Lahore in the very first year of his term. Now things are a little different because one, he's been burnt once, and second is that we have elections coming up pretty soon in states and then the national elections. So whether he will take a risk like that now seems unlikely, but as you mentioned, there is a possibility of their meeting on the sidelines of an international meeting. I can't immediately off the top of my head recall any particular meeting. SAARC summits have not been taking place for some time now, but in case that works out, that would be a great opportunity. Remember, this had happened in the case of Musharraf and Prime Minister Vajpayee. And then we had NAM summits in which Prime Minister Manmohan Singh met Pakistani leaders. So these are opportunities that may come about, and in case that happens and the two are able to hit off at a personal level, because I don't think they would have met otherwise. So if that happens, then of course one can expect anything, because good relations with Pakistan is something that certainly Prime Minister Modi would like to have to show as a foreign policy success in the run-up to the elections. And for Imran Khan, given the fact that he requires to set the economy right, good relations with India helps a lot in getting himself off the hook in the FATF and in relations with the US.
Sure. On that point, I want to go across to my other guest joining us live from Beijing, who's been standing by patiently. Einar, we're discussing about the political economy of Pakistan, and this might be a good opportune time for you to jump in the discussion. Now, would that come as an advantage for China given the precarious economic situation in Pakistan? Now, China is known to have practiced with perfection, some would say, checkbook diplomacy, debt trap diplomacy. Is there something which China foresees or fancies going forward to bail Pakistan out under Imran Khan?
Well, China's in a difficult situation because they've invested so much so far, but they have shown a lot of signs of retrenchment. A lot of projects have been stopped, waiting for the Pakistan side to catch up and fulfill what they said they were going to do. These are physical activities, mostly to do with power plants and things like that. But China is not going to sign a blank checkbook for Pakistan. And as we've all seen, there is some real signs of warming between Beijing and Delhi. And it's quite clear from the summit, the BRICS summit, which is going on now, that they are drawing closer together. There are more and more signs, and it could have an impact on the relationship of China with Pakistan. As we've discussed before, there's this issue, it's a very important corridor. But if somehow there was a corridor through India, perhaps from the Nepal border, this would be a competitive and much safer route than is currently offered by Pakistan. And this could have a far-reaching change in things. I don't say that China would ever abandon, quote, an old friend, but the political game would completely change. China would be looking much more at India. Together, India and China are the largest, fastest growing markets in the world. They share this emerging market idea that is under attack by the U.S., well, I shouldn't say the U.S., by Donald Trump. They want multilateralism. They want something that continues the kind of economic growth that they've had for these past 20 years, and they don't want any threats to it. So it could be a real game changer if China and India come together. And that could affect Pakistan.
All right. Ainur Tangen in Beijing says that China will not abandon Pakistan, but at the same time, China will not be engaging in checkbook diplomacy. Also, that India-China better ties could rub off on Pakistan as well going forward. On that note, some news just coming in. The first session of the Pakistan Stock Exchange after the elections is seeing tremendous activity. The bourse's benchmark 100 index jumped more than 600 points within the first half an hour of trade. Just to bring our viewers up to speed with the latest news coming in from Pakistan this morning, the first session of the Pakistan Stock Exchange after the elections is seeing tremendous activity. The bourse's benchmark 100 index jumped more than 600 points within the first half an hour of trade. And that is a good time to go back across to my guest joining in from Karachi in Pakistan, Omar Qureshi. Omar, in spite of everything, the disillusionment among some of the people you might be knowing or interacting with this morning, the Pakistani stock market reacting positively to Imran Khan's elevation as the next Prime Minister of Pakistan.
Yeah, I think that's it's a sign that, you know, investors and especially the stock market, which actually hasn't been performing that well, they want some stability or semblance of stability in the country. And I think whoever would have won, he has managed to get a lot of seats. And even if, around 112, 114, whatever. So, and obviously he's headed for a coalition government. And also the business community has always been in his favor, actually. Although Nawaz Sharif himself was a business, was a member of the business. But there was a lot of resentment against his tainted government. And a lot of people have seen Imran Khan's government as a kind of a messiah. And maybe that's the reason why the stock market has done so well in the morning following the election.
Also, Omar, the consensus among some of our guests this morning is that the economy, not as much India, would be an immediate threat for Imran Khan, a challenge for Imran Khan when he does come to power in Pakistan. So do you share that sentiment? That his first order of business would be to bring the economy back in shape?
Yes. In Pakistan, in recent months, there's been considerable devaluation of the rupee, almost 20%. And obviously that's going to hurt people who live here because in terms of the effects it has on inflation. And there's Pakistan's twin deficits, fiscal deficit and the trade deficit are increasing. And in fact, in recent days, in the run-up to the election, Imran Khan often referred to the trade deficit and the fiscal deficit and also Pakistan's debt burden. So I think definitely he's going to be, he probably will make it a point to tend to the economy first and foremost. And as your panelists have also mentioned, India will also be preoccupied with its own elections, which are coming up in a few months' time.
Also, Omar, I can't help but ask you this question, which I was asking some of my guests before, and General Hasnain, for instance, says that Imran Khan would do well to meet Prime Minister Modi halfway in the next few months, at least for their preliminary meetings on the margins of summits, possibly going forward. Are you in favor of such a meeting happening a bit too early in his prime ministership of Imran Khan?
No, I mean, in Pakistan, all political parties, notwithstanding some of the speeches that they do in pre-elections, all of them have said that they want better ties with all the neighbors, including India. So I wouldn't see any problem with that happening if such an opportunity and an occasion were to arise.
All right, I want to take that point across to General Hasnain in New Delhi. General Hasnain, help our viewer understand whether they should expect any change at all in India's policy, India's Pakistan policy. Would India continue to behave the way it has been so far on the issue of terrorism, cross-border terrorism, the civilian government in Pakistan and the Pakistani army in particular?
Well, going by what I see on social media, what I see on the television channels, which obviously indicates the groundswell, I don't think there is any sentiment for any kind of a rapprochement with Pakistan under the circumstances when we see that Pakistan still continues to support terrorists in Kashmir and elsewhere in India. So unless there's a specific mention about Pakistan's change of stance towards this issue, I'm not necessarily saying a change of stance on Kashmir. I do understand the sentiments on Kashmir are very strong in Pakistan, but the whole aspect of change of stance on terrorism may just about make a dent in sentiments as far as India is concerned. But as I stated in my earlier analysis on your channel also, I think we are running against time. We are now almost coming into August, and the last date for elections in India is going to be May next year. We are going to come in for regional elections, for state elections in India in the next 3 months. I think we are running out of time. So I have my doubts that we are going to see any positive developments on this field unless something very transformational from the Pakistani side is undertaken.
All right, General Hasnain seems to indicate that this might be a good time for both sides to size each other up and then pick up the threads going forward sometime in the middle of next year. In the meantime, in India, coalitions are par for the course. As unsteady as they can be, we've seen many coalition governments. In Pakistan, even a government with a clear majority is perpetually on a shaky ground, what with the sword of Damocles, the army, hanging over its head. So coalition politics spells a period of turbulence for Pakistan. Here's a look at their success rate or otherwise in the country's 70-year history. All right, it's getting to 10 to 11 a.m. India time, and we're ending the bulletin in just moments from now. But just to bring our viewers up to speed with the latest news coming in from Pakistan, PTI leading on 119 seats, PMLN on 61 and PPP on 40, others totaling up to 50 seats, and no seats yet for Allahu Akbar Tehreek of Hafiz Saeed. On that, I want to thank my guests, Omar Qureshi in Karachi, Einar Tangen in Beijing and General Hasnain in New Delhi. I have barely enough time for one last comment from you, Ambassador Sinha. Your thoughts, closing thoughts on the election so far and the results in particular.
Well, one of the factors that shows up here is that the terrorist group represented by the Allahu Akbar Tehreek and Hafiz Muhammad Saeed has been marginalized. Now, this indicates, one, that the army doesn't want at the present moment this group to come up, especially with the FATF negotiations and a possible IMF bailout coming up. And also perhaps that the people of Pakistan are also a little tired of terror groups. And while religious fundamentalism of the Sunni Islamic type has been mainstreamed in Pakistan, terror groups are not yet mainstream. People still have a certain degree of reservations about terrorism. But the dangerous fact that has come out this time is the ethnic divide, right? Which is the ethnic groups voting for separate parties. The PPP support base is now down to the Sindhis, not the Mohajirs, not the Pashtuns in Sindh, but only the Sindhi population. It's only in Punjab that PMLN and PTI have been able to split votes. But in KP, it's all gone to the fundamentalist parties or to PTI. And in Balochistan, it's the regional parties that have taken the seats. So that gives an indication of the kind of divide that is today afflicting Pakistan, which they have to look at and address.
All right, on that note, it's time to wrap up this special broadcast here on WION.